In this video, you learn how to play guitar with feeling using dynamics. Now, dynamics are quite possibly the single biggest factor in sounding musical on your guitar. Now, the great news is dynamics, once you're aware of them, are something that you can implement into your playing immediately, sounding much better as a guitar player. Hi, this is Simon Candy from AcousticGuitarLessonsOnline.net, and in this video I sit down with songwriting mastery coach Diana de Cabarrus to discuss how to create more feel in your playing using dynamics. Now, dynamics are basically how loud or how soft you play guitar. And we're not talking about turning your volume up and down. It's about how hard you pluck or strum or pick the strings, or how soft. Now, as a musician and as a guitar player, you want to have a large dynamic range, meaning that you can play very soft when needed, you can play very loud when needed, and everything in between. Now, dynamics are a major factor in how pro you sound, and as I said earlier, there's something that once you're aware of them, you can apply and implement into your playing instantly for a much better sound. In this video, we'll look at the 3 main levels of dynamics you need to be able to play at to sound pro as a musician, and we'll also discuss a whole lot more regarding dynamics and feel with your guitar playing. Now, watch until the end of the video for a very special free ebook audio I've created for you, which delves into dynamics in the context of creating unplugged acoustic versions of electric songs on your guitar. Dynamics become very important when you're doing that type of thing as well. Okay, so with all that said, let's get into it.
On the subject of one of the things that I think is quite underexplored on acoustic guitar very often, playing your chords in different places. So there's it was a big hit in the UK by an artist, Scottish artist called Lewis Capaldi, mainly uses 4 chords. And you could play the whole I'm going under, and this time I feel there's no one to save me. This all or nothing way of loving will be driving me crazy. I need somebody to heal, somebody to know, somebody to have, somebody to hold. It's easy to say, it's always the same. I guess I kind of like the way you numbed all the pain. Now the day bleeds. So I just worked my way down, same 4 chords all the way, fluffed the last one, sorry about that. There was a bit of an arc of a dynamic build in the delivery of that song. He's kind of getting to a louder part of the song, and I basically worked my way down to the louder chords at that point. So changing where you're playing the chords is really effective, and I appreciate if you haven't really looked into chords in different places on the neck, that might seem like a lot of material, but there are actually not that many different shapes to memorize. There's a limited number of extra vocab, and the amount of expressiveness you can get from using these different pitch registers. And that's really what I mean by kind of re-exploring all of the guitar.
Yeah, that's great. That's good reason to step out of open chords and bar chords, right? They're really useful, but of course, once you've got triads and things, then you can do exactly what you did there, which sounds great. And it's more kind of a pianoistic type way of playing, isn't it? Where you can just sort of, get a nice voice leading between your notes from one chord to another because they're all within close proximity of each other.
That is something that can be quite challenging if something has got the same chords all the way through and you're playing the same rhythm all the way through and you're singing, and the melody, is typically going to be within a certain area for a pop song. There isn't a whole lot of contrast inherently in that. And it sounds way more effective if you can add a bit more contrast.
Another thing, like your dynamic range. So I'm going to come back to dynamic range again. So as I say, for a particular song, different songs have different dynamic ranges, if you like. Some songs will have a narrow dynamic range. Some songs will have a large dynamic range. It's not to say one song's better than the other, but you want to be able to have that ability when you're playing music, particularly, as we're saying, when you're playing on your own, because you've got to kind of exaggerate that. We know the song Fast Car, which is Tracy Chapman, right? So that song sort of has 2 basic dynamics, for want of a better description there. But you've got a part that goes like... Right, you got that part there that's happening for a fair part of the song, and then it goes into like a into a strumming part. So now, if you were playing sort of in a with other instruments in that song, then that might be enough. But so you got this end of the dynamic range, soft, and then sort of the other end of the dynamic range where it's more dance and strumming and a little bit more of a groove, not so much groove, but you've got that heavier sort of strum coming in. But you might not be at the extremes, but there's a reasonable dynamic range between those two parts there. But there's one in between there that you could access, something in between those two things, and that would be playing this part, but instead of using my pick and fingers here and picking out particular notes, I'm still kind of maintaining that little melodic component through that chord progression there, but I'm strumming it out more. And that's kind of emulating drums, say, coming in. So this isn't necessarily saying this is how this song goes. I don't even know if I can't think what the instrumentation is in this song, but you could start quite soft for however long. But as it builds, you might want to not go full, but you might want to pick it up a bit. And then bring it back. And you might go through the song like that, and then when it comes in with the heavier part at the end, when it kicks in, or towards the end, away you go strumming. So instead of just having two layers, you've put an interim, sort of one in between. One more example. There's a song, it's a very famous Australian song, this one. So unless you're from this country, you may not know this song, I'm not sure. But it's by band Daddy Cool. It's called Eagle Rock, and it's basically got this riff that goes. Right, and it's very, single note. You got the bass here with the pick playing the bass note on the beat, and then your melody on top. And that is actually what the guitar is doing in the song when there's bass and drums and all that. But when I've played that song live, it doesn't sound that great if you just do that live, as in just one guitar and a singer. It doesn't sound great if you just do that up until you get to the chorus where the chords come in. It's too long. Because in the song, you've got the drums that come in and the bass that come in the meantime and kick along. So I might start it like this, and doing all that sort of stuff. But then once the sort of drums come in, I'll play it more like. So it's going to sort of, the idea there is I don't have to try and hit that melody perfectly. I'm more after a bit of a groove that suggests a bit of a beat, and also like a rhythm guitar part comes in. You hear more of some contrast there with the strumming of the chord. You still got elements of the melody there, and you've got a bit of a groove going. So you're not trying to play the rhythm guitar part and the lead guitar part and try and get a drum beat in there. It's all you need really is just to suggest these things, and your ears will fill in the rest. It's like an oral sort of illusion as opposed to an optical illusion. If you suggest things in your progressions and in your songs, your ear does actually fill in the rest. So that's an example. That's a song I have played live where I do that, because it's missing something if you don't have the drums and that. So it's an interim part again to then where you go full out strumming in the chorus, and back then you bring it back down. So the more sort of tiers, if you like, or the layers of dynamic that you can play at, then you can switch between them appropriately throughout the song to build it and bring it back down and so forth. What would you suggest, Diana? Say you only have very basic skills right now. You haven't been playing guitar for too long. Perhaps you haven't even really picked much on chords before. What are some of the best ways you could, with the skills you've got right now? So we're not talking about, well, practice chord picking so you can bring that in, or practice finger picking so you can bring that into your playing. What would you suggest to someone who's got very basic skills in terms of, maximizing the impact of their arrangements or their playing when they're playing on their own, what would be the most important thing to you, or the sort of, the areas you'd focus on?
Let's say that I'm quite restricted for technique at this time. What can I do straight away that will make a difference? So I think if you can hit one chord, I'm just going to show this hand, one chord, and you can do this, you can also hit the lowest note and then the other notes. So if I've got a chord progression that's E minor, C, G, D, I could be going. I'm sure if you could do that, you honestly can do. And that immediately just gives our ear a different way of experiencing it. So that's number one. Number two, challenge yourself to have 3 dynamic settings on whatever part you're working on. So you could say it could be soft, medium, and loud. Almost invariably, when we think we are playing softly, we are not playing softly. And the way that you can test this is by recording yourself. And what you want to arrive at in your playing is that you record yourself and you can clearly hear 3 different levels in what you're playing. So that if you that will be something you could deploy whatever amount of technique you have at this time. But it does take a little bit, you have to think about it a bit. And unless you have some feedback, you just don't know. You think that you're playing really softly, but you're not. I probably played less softly just then than I thought I was playing. So that's especially if you have played with other musicians and you try to be heard, you can get used to trying to be loud. So training yourself to hear what the dynamic change is actually, like what other people are perceiving versus what you think they're perceiving. That is something you can do straight away with any part, whatever skill level you're at.
If you like this video, then you'll love this free ebook audio I've created for you called the Acoustic Guitarist Toolkit for Unplugged Songs Concepts. In this ebook, you learn the concepts used to get that acoustic feel and sound that you hear the pros get when they play unplugged versions of songs on guitar. This includes learning how to instantly make chords played in electric guitar songs sound much better on your acoustic. It's super simple and easy to do. You also discover the trick to easily creating beautiful flowing chord progressions that sound more like a pianist is playing than a guitarist. This is particularly great when you want to emulate other instruments in your acoustic versions. Plus, you gain the skill of connecting these different concepts together to create even better, more sophisticated sounding acoustic versions of electric guitar songs. All examples in the ebook are tabbed out for you, accompanied by audio recordings of both the electric and acoustic versions. This way you can clearly hear how each concept covered really contributes to the sound of the acoustic version in comparison to the electric. So click the link in the description below this video and download your free ebook audio, the Acoustic Guitarist Toolkit for Unplugged Songs Concepts. You'll have it in your inbox within minutes. Let me know in the comment section below this video what acoustic guitar topics you'd like to see me cover in future videos. Let me know about this video and dynamics, so the ways you like to approach dynamics on the instrument. I'd love to hear all your thoughts and suggestions. So don't be shy. I will read all your comments. I will reply to them. I always love to hear from you. So drop me a comment below the video. If you like this video, then of course hit the like button. If you haven't already, you might think you've subscribed. Maybe you haven't. Check. If you haven't, I'd love you to subscribe to the channel and of course hit the notification bell button so YouTube can tell you when I've released a new video. Thank you once again for being here for this video. As always, I really appreciate your time and I very much look forward to seeing you in the next video.